Hi guys, I'm going to show you today how to make traditional Seekh Kebabs. These are kebabs that can be either made under a grill, even an oven, but most predominantly wants to be made over charcoal or in a tandoor. If you haven't seen already, there is a video on my channel on how to make a tandoor, so I highly recommend making these in there. So first things first, I'll tell you what the ingredients are. We've got a bit of salt, half a teaspoon of salt, and a 3/4 teaspoon of dried chili flakes to your tasting. Add a bit more if you like things chili, a bit less if you're not a keen fan of chili. I've got some coriander and cumin powder, I've got some paprika, I've got some garam masala, I've got a small egg, I've got ginger and garlic paste, got some chopped coriander here, or cilantro as it's known in some places. I've got some egg that I've already finely chopped up, and I've got my little secret ingredient I like to add to my dishes, which is rose harissa paste. It gives a nice little colour and a nice little kick. You don't traditionally find that in Indian recipes or in many cookbooks, but give it a try. If you don't like it, omit it, but it works well for me. So today I'm going to be using 500 grams of lean turkey mince. So that's come straight out the fridge. Whenever you make skewers, you need to make sure before you assemble your skewers, which I'll show you later on, that the meat is cold. Do not leave it at room temperature, otherwise it'll fall apart. You need to get the consistency right, because if you get it wrong, the skewers will fall off, and I'll also show you how to put the meat onto a skewer as well. So first things first, we need a bowl, just standard plastic bowl. I love these silicone spatulas, they work really well. They were off Amazon, 9-10 quid for a full set. Highly recommend getting a pair of those. In terms of quantities, just to recap again, so I've got 3/4 of the onion, I've got a bunch of coriander, 1 small egg, emphasize small, a tablespoon garlic ginger paste. We're going to put a teaspoon of harissa in. I've got 2 teaspoons of garam masala. We're going to put in a teaspoon of paprika, 2 teaspoons of cumin and coriander, and we've got half a teaspoon of salt and 3/4 of a teaspoon of chili. So pretty easy. Take the meat first. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Now this recipe works really well whether it's chicken, lamb, turkey, whatever meat you want to try. So there we go. That's about 500 grams, half a kilo of mincemeat there. So doesn't need to be in any particular order to put these bits and pieces in. So I'll start with the salt and chili. So I'm just going to throw that in there. Try to always evenly place it. Makes it easy for mixing. We'll then put in ginger and garlic. You can obviously use fresh. I'm just being a bit lazy. I use this quite a lot when I make curries as well. Just saves so much time. Not the cheapest thing in the world. So that's in there. I'll put the egg in later on. Put the onion in there. These chopping boards are wood. The brand is Oliver's Kitchen. I find them quite useful for chopping. Just getting that onion in a little bit with the mixture. There we go. Right, so we will pop in garam masala. It's in there. Right, okay, so we're going to put a heaped teaspoon, ooh, maybe too much. Yeah, about that, I don't use measuring spoons. Just sometimes just got to go with the flow. So that's that, and then 2 teaspoons of coriander powder, and cumin. Right, so just gonna give it a little mix before we add the other stuff. Very brief mix. You can see the meat is texture, hopefully you can see anyways, changes slightly because it was a bit moist before. Obviously putting the spices in, it gets a bit drier if you like. So by adding the egg in, we'll just moisten it up a little bit. There we go. Right, so I'm going to add the coriander, or cilantro as it's known in different parts of the world. Had a bit left over. You can obviously add more to it if you're a fan of that, but I just put just enough in. There you go. Right, then I'm going to put in, look at that colour, really nice. About a teaspoon of harissa paste. Spread that out a bit. You see the lovely colour it adds to the meat. You can obviously add more harissa if you like, but you don't really want to detract too much from the authentic Indian taste. Now you can add a bit more paprika if you like. You can obviously add a little bit more salt if you like as well. So there we go. So that's all nicely mixed up. Just make a little hole in the middle. Pop the egg in. And then what I do is I always break the yolk, hence why I put it in the middle. There we go. And then I spread it out. Now the egg is used to bind it. Unfortunately, I've never tried binding with anything else other than an egg. So for those who may not eat eggs, I'm sure there'll be another way. Maybe if somebody else knows a way of doing it, place into the comments. I suppose I could look into it if there's enough demand for it. I've never tried with anything other than the egg. And it's a really good texture now. Hopefully you can see that. It is yeah, that's perfect. If it wasn't as moist, you could add a little bit of vegetable oil or rapeseed oil or something like that. Now, you should really leave this overnight. I would recommend 8 hours at least in the fridge, covered up with a bit of cling film over the top. If you haven't got the time, try and do at least 30 to 60 minutes. That should help the meat absorb the flavours. So I'm going to put this in the fridge. We'll let it marinate overnight and the temperature of it decreases. And then I'll show you how I then create a nice skewer as a result of it. So the meat has just been taken out of the fridge. It is quite cold. My hands are quite warm, so I'm going to run my hand under a cold tap Sorry, I should have done that before I started, but I've just done that, so my hand's nice and cold. It's very important you do this with cold meat, otherwise it will fall off. I've got a bit of oil here. I've got one potato halved, covered in tin foil. That'll go at the bottom of the skewers. So when it goes in the tandoor, that's why I'm cooking it. It doesn't fall off. Of course, you can cook this under a grill or an oven, or broiler, I think they're called in America, which is the equivalent of a grill, for probably 10 to 12 minutes each side, and that should cook it well. This pot here's got a bit of oil, so I'm just going to oil my hand there. I'm then going to put some oil on the skewer. This skewer, I think I said before, is about just under 2 centimeters thick. So I'm going to get a handful of meat, move it together. Now, this meat feels quite wet. That's probably because the egg I put in earlier was maybe a bit too big. If it feels wet, feel free to put some corn flour in. If this doesn't bind and doesn't stay on, we will have to do that. Okay, so this is pretty much sticking on, which is good. If it started to fall off, it's too wet, and that's when you should put some corn flour in. And it's a common thing that meat falls off because it's either wrong temperature or otherwise. See here, thumb, index finger, creates a nice little ridge pattern in the meat. Just make sure it's nicely covered. Bit of room at the end for the potato. There's a skewer, nice and easy. Shouldn't be any more difficult than that. If it is too wet for you, I would recommend put about a tablespoon of corn flour in there. That should help. In terms of oil, you know, you can either brush or rub a bit of oil on there as well, will help it cook. So I'll do another one, and then there's enough meat here for probably a few more skewers. Just as before, thumb and finger. The meat's still very, very cold, and that's how it should be. If you try this with room temperature, it'll just not work, guys. Another skewer done. Just missed a little bit more under there. There we go, perfect. So there's 2 skewers ready for the tandoor. So I'm going to put the potatoes out at the end. That will then go in, and there you go. So I'll pop them in shortly, and let's see how they cook. Skewer in there. Here's the second one. There you go, so that should cook quite nicely, and I'll take them out in a little while. And I had a small amount of meat left, so I did just put some on the thin skewer, very sparsely though, so I'm going to try that. It might fall off, but worth a try. So nice and thin, not as fat as the other one, and we'll put that in the tandoor as well. Just made another one. Smaller one this time, on the thinner skewer. So I've got 4 on the go now. Just going to give the coal a little bit of a poke. Yeah, that's See how it's a nice red glow at the bottom. Bit of ash everywhere. It's a very windy day today. But they're cooking nicely. Guys, being appreciative, not everybody's got a barbecue or a tandoor. What I thought I'd do is, I've got a little bit of meat left over. I was going to make some in the under a grill or a broiler. So I'm just putting some oil on my glass chopping board so it doesn't stick. And then what I'll do is I'll build the kebab on the skewer and then just slide it off just so it's the right shape. And then we'll grill that so you can see how that turns out as well. There's one. Should be able to get another one out. Two, about a year big. Tiny bit meat left. Add that on the front. There we go. So 2 kebabs there. I'll put them in a grill and probably about 12 minutes. I'll probably turn them over halfway through and then I'll show you how they turn out as well. Just seeing how we get on, and I've actually had a little bit of meat drop off this one as expected. The other one's going quite nicely, so I'll take them out shortly and we will see how they taste. So these are the ones I've just taken out of the tandoor. Not sure if I said before, these are actually turkey mince, believe it or not. They come out a lot juicier if it's lamb. Now this turkey mince is lean mince, I think it's 7% fat. The lamb I use usually is about 20% fat, just to give you guidelines. The potatoes at the bottom, nicely done as well. So it'll be good to eat. And then I've got another 2 in the grilled broiler, so I'll bring those out when they're done and we'll have a look. This is halfway in the broiler or the grill. It's one side done. I'm going to flip it over and put it back in. So these are 2 kebabs that have just come out the grill. That's what they look like. They cooked really well. I did 14 minutes on one side and did 5 on the other. And this is a piece that was in the tandoor. You can see the tandoor ones, hopefully you can see, it's a bit darker. So if I just if I try chopping this up in the middle. It's nicely cooked in between. Nicely cooked in between. Try a taste of that, see how it compares. Very tasty, but the tandoor one's got more depth and more of a smoky flavour. Both work really well. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Hopefully you try the recipe at home. I'm cheating a little bit. Store-bought naan bread hanging there. The potatoes I wanted a little bit softer, so I just threw them back in there.
but that naan bread should be just about ready to come out. Kind of difficult to do with one hand. There you go. Nicely done. So I'm going to get on some garlic naan, bit of spinach, bit of pepper. I'll probably put some sauce on there as well.